This is Dave Weed, Chairman of the Morris Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting, a regular workshop meeting of the commission at approximately 7 p.m. on the dot, a miracle, on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. And it is a Wednesday, not a Thursday, because it's not a regular meeting, a regular meeting. So board members present are, and they're all in the house. There's nobody online at the moment.
Yes,
Oh, no,
there's Helen White.
Helen White. On our foreign correspondent tonight is Helen White. She's a full member. She's present. Doug Barnes, Noah Butler, Veronica Florio.
Noah Butler is seated for Dylan
Oh,
Hovey.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, he's not elected yet. That's right. Thank you, Veronica. So, do we have anything for agenda review?
Well, we got.
Sounds good by me, so let's get new business and we'll go to old business. Establish a public drinking water supply overlay zone and a Bantam Lake waterfront overlay district, as well as improve our use, low impact, sustainable development. We could.
Mark just joined.
Mark joined. Then let's add to the board members present.
Oh, no, what a time.
So we have,
I'm still here.
we have some special guests in the audience. We have our normal guest stars of Janelle Mullen, our town, and Tiffany Dilly, our CEO. I also call me a Tona, anyway. It's his full name. And we have a guest. I met Cynthia, I know Connie, but why don't you, and I don't know your name.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Sudol, Natural Resource Specialist from the Northwest Conservation District, and I grew up in Morris.
Excellent.
My parents are still over on Curtis Hill.
Nice. Cynthia?
Cynthia Rabinowitz, I'm the Soil and Wetland Scientist at Northwest Conservation District.
And Connie?
Connie Trolley, local resident,
You're also Bantam Protective Association.
president of Bantam Lake Protective Association. Kelsey is also a member.
Forgot about that.
That's okay. But I just want, because I know I was introduced to Cynthia and I know Connie and I've known her for years. And I've just met you for the first time.
Nice to meet you.
But I don't know if anybody here other than Janelle and Tone might know you.
I know them all. That's
I
such a
know.
pleasure to know them all.
So I'd like to now, and I think a lot of you you're here largely for what we have on the agenda. And let's just, I think before we go any farther, because I'm going to, or I'll remember it this time around, I'll point Eric Leone or Barbara Delay. Geez, another board member. And I just, since you weren't here for the introduction, we have Cynthia Rabinowitz, Connie Trolley, and I am awful with names, so.
Kelsey.
Kelsey Sudol.
Don't.
Thank you. And Kelsey and Cynthia are with the with the Northwest Conservation District. And
I suppose it's
Protective
Protective Association. So.
Bantam Lake Protective.
She's wearing, Kelsey's wearing two hats tonight.
Right, and Connie's the president of that, Connie Trolley.
I am.
As I don't know that, we don't want to assume, Erica, that you know Connie Trolley, who's the woman to your right. Cynthia's in the middle,
How you
and
doing?
Kelsey's on the left. So I am turning the floor over to you, Janelle, to go through what we have put together.
So the memorandum on the two following pages should not be new to the commissioners. I believe we reviewed it.
What was it meant for you, Doug?
Including my friend Doug. I believe we reviewed it on June, July, and now here we are in August, believe it or not. But the whole concept should be relatively simple. It's exploring developing a Bantam Lake waterfront overlay district that then also achieves a lot of our P O C D goals around low impact development and public drinking water supply health, and just sustainable development in general. So, quite a few years ago, I did introduce this concept to the Bantam Lake Protective Association, to positive reviews, and now it's the perfect moment, since we're looking at P O C D implementation, to bring it before the Planning and Zoning Commission as local regulations. So something that our ZEO would take over as enforcing. They are relatively simple in nature. It's proposed that basically properties within 500 feet of the mean high water mark of Bantam Lake, so the abutters, as represented in a map that was very nicely developed by member Bill Ale, would fall into this overlay zone. And they would have very specific restrictions on this property, not creating any sort of prohibitions around the use of the property, but just so that a little bit more mindfulness is given prior to land work, clearing, grading, other aspects of the property, so that overall detrimental effects will not end up impacting the lake. And that's all very intentional, because as we know, the lake is not only a local resource, but a regional resource, a resource for tourism, a resource as an economic driver, and endless beauty that drives a lot of people to come to our town. So bringing this into the fray would bring to Tony's lap some dock enforcement, dock permitting. A lot of that revolves around water safety, also material safety. So if you're sticking a dock in water for a long period of time and it happens to have toxic materials, it does leach into the lake. So just bearing in mind, there's a lot of aspects of safety, planning and zoning, as we know. Our bottom line is really public health, safety, welfare. And then as far as having an administrative permit for a dock, it's not prohibited, but it's just saying you have to go this extra step. It is a privilege to launch a dock in our local lake, in our public good water body. And then with that comes the numbering of these docks, which is all very important for safety. Also, the understanding that docks are in an orderly fashion, so that they're pretty much going to be perpendicular to the lake, so you're not encroaching in one way or the other, and that there's a reasonable expectation of how long that dock will be into the lake. So it's standardized, everyone is set with the same rules. There are many precedents across the state that have this. And then again, they're constructed from these non-toxic materials, so no pressure treated wood that will sit in the water over time, really being imperative for the environment. So no excavation of submerged land is a big thing. So docks usually do have footings, but they just sit on your lake bed and they're not causing long-term, there's no piers, there's no concrete, there's a lot less disturbance to your water body. The other thought around the overlay is really minimizing our impervious coverage and going back to that low impact development implementation guide that we're all subject to in town, is making sure that our stormwater management is in keeping with our deep standards, and then also helping towards your water quality long-term. So when the water quality of the lake suffers, we all suffer as users of the lake, as property owners on the lake, as taxpayers in this town, et cetera. So just bearing in mind, like, it is an ecosystem that works together. So minimizing our impervious coverage within this overlay area is a big objective of the regulation, and that is a simple ask on the site plan. Give us your calculations of impervious coverage. Gravel is impervious because of the compacted land underneath your gravel. So this is sort of sometimes a misnomer. People will say, we're not paving the driveway, it's gravel. It's still impervious. So something to bear in mind. And then artificial things like your man-made beaches, your lawn, to really make sure that we're really deliberate about that, not prohibiting it, but it's a deliberate, conscientious choice of your artificial man-made beach is going to be, for example, a proportion of the frontage that you have at the lake. So part of your shorefront can certainly be developed as your beach, but not utilizing all of that and bringing in, again, fill and raw materials that are foreign to the lake. So really in keeping with your natural materials that are there. Structures, again, locating them no closer than 25 feet from the shoreline. This all falls within that overlay. And then making sure that waterside decks, docks, structures are subject to a zoning permit. If there's this narrative that it's punitive, it's really a privilege to have any structure. And to keep in mind, it's an administrative review. So it's, do they meet the setbacks? Are they over the impervious coverage? And then it's a simple zoning sign off. So it's not arduous as far as a public hearing and long meetings. It's just a simple zoning sign off.
Are all these people that already have docks gonna have to number their dock now and go and get a new dock if their dock doesn't conform? Or are they gonna be like grandfathered in and this is all new docks?
So with any zoning amendment, it's a great question. With any zoning amendment, yes, there's that pre-existing nonconformity. I always like to put forward these voluntary recommendations. They are soft guidelines, but everyone should probably have a number on their dock just for safety purposes. So I wouldn't build that into your zoning requirements, but much like
Well,
we
we
did
would be
with.
required to like send a letter to everybody with a dock or I don't know,
Would.
how could we find out about who's gonna go figure out how many docks there are and who owns them and.
So there's a few PR aspects to this, much in keeping with what the town did for Dark Skies. So Dark Skies, there's a lot of light fixtures outside that do not conform and that are pre-existing.
Right.
In the event that Tony were to ever get a complaint saying, I don't believe my neighbor conforms with the Dark Skies, it would be on him to do the due diligence to see if it was pre-existing or not, and to have the property owner basically prove that that light was of that way prior to the adoption of the regulation. I like the aspect of the regulations where it's voluntary recommendations. It's like, we're all doing this. Be a good neighbor. Let's all do this together. Understanding that there will be those pre-existing nonconformities out there. And knowing that that's always necessary whenever zoning regulations get amended and adopted.
So only people who participate are gonna get a dock number.
Only people that are applying for their new dock. And
I guess I have a different approach in my mind to that. I think that each property that has a dock should be identified at the start. And it should be a numbering system that's organized.
Yeah,
And it may not just be a number, it could, I'll let you speak when I'm done, it may be a number and letters too, maybe the, shortening of the road that they're on. Just like you have a street address, you have a dock address.
right. This is your dock address. And if
County
you ever
address.
replace your dock, these are the guidelines that you follow to replace your dock.
Well, I think maybe you don't all know, there are dock regulations now that are part of the inland wetlands.
Mhm.
And we have written requests to modify our regulations to include the numbers. We were trying to do it with an ordinance because we were told that's what we would do, but it has been approved by our committee. It went to the selectmen. They are in favor of the idea. We may put this together with next week's vote that we're having on wakeboarding. We might add that little part about getting the numbers in, which I won't discuss that today. But it is on our radar. We did write a letter to you in May about this proposal that Janelle's been working on for 2 years, I think, with us, and we thank her for that. But the idea of the dock would be a logical way for us to have a better control. We do not have a control because inland wetlands does not have a requirement that you have to have a permit, you have to get approval. Now people are just putting things in. So this is one of the things that we like about what she's put together here. And the rest of it is that, like I said in my letter, it is a structure. You should be getting tax money on the structure. Some of the things that are sitting in the lake, a few of us know what they look like. They're making the properties bigger. They're making the lake smaller. So we're all in favor of this.
And I think we have some docks on the decks on the, out there instead of docks, too.
With
Which is a
roofs.
violation of the zoning.
Yeah.
Regular stuff.
Actually, this is mostly a question for Janelle. One of the things I've seen when looking at some other towns zoning is that they address the pre-existing non-conforming use issue by having a period of time in which people can register their pre-existing non-conforming use. And after that period of time expires, if you didn't register it, you're done. That's it. It's now
It's an illegal.
subject to the regulation.
Sure.
And that's a little bit aggressive. It's not something we've chosen to do with other zoning amendments, but it seems like that's something that would make sense, particularly since docks come in and out of the water. And I think that there's going to be some significant issues of proof around this. That I think that might be something, I'm not even sure I agree. I mean, I just want to sort of throw that
Yeah,
out there
it's
for
great.
people to
Great.
talk about.
Well, that's what I think.
I'm
they're
curious
showing
if
the
you
ordinance, too.
recall what town that was in?
I do not, but I can go back and check. I didn't bring my laptop with me, but it's something I came across 2 or 3 years ago.
Cause I do know as of 2016, the legislature passed a statute that basically says towns do not have the right to take away a pre-existing nonconformity from a property owner. Cause I think a lot of old regulations say if someone has abandoned this use or hasn't used this use for a year or for 2 years, the town can basically say this pre-existing non-conforming use is no longer there. In 2016, the legislature did step in pro property owner rights to basically say towns cannot do that. So I would be
That made,
curious.
the thing I was looking at could well have predated that, so I can check that, yeah.
But I think I certainly would like to explore that
Yeah.
more, because I think that's a voluntary, register your docs so that we never have to get into the back and forth of, was it 200 feet? Was it 300 feet?
And it-
And it's not a requirement, but it's more like we recommend so that it doesn't become an issue in the future.
But it is interesting that, you take your docks out at the end of the season and you put them back in. So does that mean you have to conform now with new regulations because you took them off and you're rebuilding basically?
So and again, this is the nature of how all of our 169 towns in this state do things extremely differently. Many docks Lake Warmog, for example, Warren, where I'm involved with zoning enforcement, that is like every other neighbor is leaving it in all year.
Yeah.
It's just dependent upon, I don't know, are they full-time residents? Where are they storing the docks? Some people don't want to ruin their lawn. So there is that, which is certain an aspect of the docks. And property owners do love to say, this is a temporary structure because it gets taken out. And I always argue, temporary or not, it's a structure that we're permitting.
Agreed.
And I think for Tony to eventually, I think it will help anyone with record keeping just to have your long-term list of your lakefront properties and just have a handle on just generally what's going on with your dock permits, your impervious coverage and everything. I know it's a lot of work.
No, but what Doug said, should be high, yeah, I
I'd
know.
like to go to Kelsey,
Okay.
please.
I just wanted to echo
And you're
kind of a
next,
point.
and you're after her.
So I also worked for Lake Warmog Conservancy, previously Lake Warmog Task Force. So I can talk about Warmog and that, and it's not something specifically addressed here, but it's something just to keep on your radar is the use of bubblers if they do leave their structures in permanently, especially as you start to have more and more of a geese problem. Ice cover is very important on lakes. It's to have their, natural processes occur to decrease cyanobacteria, et cetera, but also to stop geese coming. If you have holes in your ice, they're gonna hang out and not migrate. And so that's a problem on Warmog, and it's one of the reasons we have such a geese problem besides the state park buffer, lacking of a buffer.
Let's outlaw those things, yes.
Connie,
Like I said, we do have dock regulations in the town. And we do say the docks must be removed. We're very specific about what they're built out of. So I think we should build on that. We used to have a permit requirement But then when we changed many of the people on the board felt that that was a violation of property rights. That we would, so it became voluntary, which is a big mistake, because now people are really abusing the right to put in a dock. But I think you should go off the dock regulations that we have, maybe go back to the getting a permit or a registration, that would be fine. You could take a look at that, but I really want to emphasize the whole idea in this overlay is not the docks as much as it's taking care of the waterfront,
Right.
buffer zones, having control over what people are putting in the front of their houses. I mean, that's one of the things we're concerned about in Bantam Lake Protective is we want to get our lake back to what it was.
I
It's
wish you
now
could
an
outlaw
impaired lake,
fertilizer.
and we would like to return it to be non-impaired. So this LSID plan we've been working on for a long time. You've done great with it. My favorite, the dark sky, thank you. But
We're so big
Yeah,
on that.
that's secret.
anyway, I think that there's a lot we can do that you already have with the docks, and I just think it should be under the control of this commission so that it can be properly taken care of.
Tony,
I just wanna mention how what Doug said is, I think it would be, I recommend the property owners to do that. So that when someone complains about their dock, it's a lot easier to see like it's already there rather than. I have, then they have to prove it rather, they should prove it now so that we don't have to deal with, all the
so we
docks
can
over
bid
this
you
way.
later.
Exactly,
Well,
so.
it's also was an accident 2 years ago, and we didn't know where the people they were hurt, where they
Yeah,
came from,
yeah.
so that's another way.
Yeah, that's why I wanna put the numbers too, because of safety.
Thank you.
A few thoughts just around potentially adding like no docks in all season long. Morris has a really lovely history around ice and
Yeah, I think. we
making
should
of
have
ice
that,
in this
yeah.
town and the heritage of
Yep.
ice sailing and all of these great
People go ice
things.
fishing, they wanna be
It-
able to have thick ice, yeah.
Yeah, and just to celebrate that heritage and
absolutely.
make sure that we get ahead of what's going on in Lake Warmog, even having just no bubblers.
Yeah,
Just-
totally.
It is a geese attractant.
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
I agree totally. We need ice. Yeah. We don't get enough of it anymore.
And back to the safety concept, as you all know, the ski show, big skiing town. And for anyone in the lake, I'm a big swimmer, having any sort of standard to know like this dock isn't gonna just jet out there. Whether you're a boater or whether you're a swimmer, just so you can understand, there's a view shed thing around public lakes too, to make sure that we all are given that right to look at the lake and witness its natural beauty. So it all comes with standardizing is just a part of respecting that it's a public good for all of our use. Anyone that's within a town that has a lake, I like to think like you essentially have a lakefront property. You have that privilege of going to the lake, using the lake and benefiting greatly from the lake. So the safety issue with dock lengths. And we're getting bigger storms, so things that are like not well structured or not really up to code with roofs.
Yeah, no roof on the dock.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But I don't think there should be any new structures that are on the dock, on the waterfront, period. I mean, yeah, there are existing structures on the waterfront, but those are pre-existing non-conforming, and I don't think there's any regulation that would put, even with the regulations we have today, that would permit putting a structure in at the waterline.
There's one zone that you have in zoning that you might like to look at. It's called the Lakefront Recreational.
yeah.
LRD.
It's a little bit of a loophole for somebody that wants to put in a large marina,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
just to think about.
I think marinas are on the list for that.
You remember way back when we had a big fight with the Boquico family when they were renting out slips in Nick's Cove.
Mm.
And we won the case. So that's when the docks regulations came about.
Yeah, I do remember. That incident, I was not familiar with the eventual outcome of it. So maybe we should talk a little bit more about I mean, I just go back on the record. I think we should have an organized plan for numbers, not just numbering. And it should be logical based on location and whatever terminology makes sense.
Isn't it just your street address for
That could be
311 purposes?
like 150.
Bernetta Grove.
I would think it's the Grove. I was thinking Bantam Lake.
No, but you know, it doesn't matter.
But yes,
Street
yes.
address.
And it doesn't
Yeah,
have
that
to be
makes
spelled
sense.
out. It could be an abbreviation for each road, so it's less than 10 characters, maybe even less than, 8 characters sort of thing. But we also should talk about what other things that we are gonna put in here to. Is it really just the 7 items here? And
It's simple. I tend to keep things relatively simple. Around the voluntary recommendations, a thought could potentially be partnering with the Bantam Lake Protective Association. And I know this commission is a big supporter of lawn signs and design, that if you do voluntarily step into what's being recommended, that you can like put out a nice sign that says like, I am a lake supporter and I checked all these boxes, number 1 through 5. There's a lot of people now around town, they'll either celebrate that they're like rewilding their garden. There's also the ones that are these native gardens that they sort of put out to promote, like, I'm on the map as this native garden, or I am
No, there's an
doing this.
organization, you can, yeah.
And thus through, it doesn't have to be a regulation, but through these voluntary actions, even with thinking of our dark sky campaign of those street signs of just
that's true.
anyone that's voluntarily discontinued their lakefront use of lawn fertilizers, maintain their 25-foot buffer, upgraded their wastewater disposal systems, et cetera, can sort of tout that and celebrate that.
I always thought we should have like a town meeting and have people talk about why this is important to the people that are on the lake.
So
Kelsey, I'd like Kelsey to explain what we're working on with the group that we 3 are involved with. I forget the name of it because we don't have a name yet, but.
it's the Bantam Watershed Coalition.
Right.
It's a lot of the conservation-based organizations around Bantam Lake and in the watershed. I think there's about 5 or 6 of us, and we actually developed a Bantam Watershed Pledge for homeowners. It's live on BLPA's website right now. 3 of these things, the first 3 things are on that pledge, and we've actually talked about doing a similar idea with the lawn signs. Actually, if you take the pledge and we can kind of prove you've done a certain number of things within that, and it kind of goes more into depth on each one of these.
I think you should add number 5 is number 4. No.
But, one of the reasons we can focus on education, there's an entire education subcommittee that we have going on to promote this kind of work in the watershed. And very specifically, we're formed because of the watershed-based plan, guys, that a lot of the groups helped create about 5 years ago. And actually in that plan, it specifically outlines that the 300-foot buffer surrounding Bantam has an impervious cover. So it has a 33% rate for urban development and 11% for barren land use type. Basically, it's about a 42% urbanized area. And that is extremely high. And it identifies very specifically that it wants to protect that area. And it also outlines various ways you can go about that, and that you should be looking at the regulatory ways that you can do that. So this overlay district really fits nicely into your watershed-based plan and shows the state that you guys are actually following along about the various ideas that you would do. Also, the state is moving forward with, they just passed a work group in the last legislative session to start looking into riparian protections at the state level. So moving this forward, it actually help you look like a leader in this area moving forward, in my opinion. It's definitely on the docket moving forward because this riparian area is extremely important in protecting your water quality on Bantam moving forward. Making sure you don't slide backwards as well. So
I- When I say I think we feel we want to be a leader, not like we're being.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So just to speak on the environmental, like really, that's why we're here, just to give a little bit of that environmental weight, is that it's really beneficial and that it seems a great way to kind of weave all of these threads together and not recreate any wheels. So
Thank you, Kelsey.
Yeah,
it's really awesome.
thank you all
Yes,
for
it's a
being
great
here.
plan.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're
But
welcome.
I always, the one thing I do think we have better than average, I thought. Impervious area covers with what we put in with the LISD regulation, because we totally changed its numbers.
So that gets triggered with there's development over a certain threshold rather than just having this impervious coverage cap within your lake overlay.
Okay, so what's the difference?
So LISD will touch upon something that's going to be developed that's greater than a half acre. This sets that standard if you fall within the
Oh.
lake, regardless. So they can actually work together. Areas outside of the lake will be subject to LISD because of the amount of disturbance being proposed. But what's really significant is that this is capping all lots that abut the lake for the purpose of protecting the lake, because stormwater is going to go directly into the lake and not glancing over that. Water will always go
Oh, yeah.
down.
You also want absorption on the property before it gets to the lake too. That's that to me is always like the big thing, is that's why you need. No, I'm looking at this and stuff, what I thought I read the last time we were here, we had. Impervious,
And those numbers that I cited from the watershed-based plan from UConn's LiDAR study, I believe.
Mhm.
There might be certain different ways that they categorize different land use types, but that's their specific subset. It's in the appendix of the watershed-based plan. So, the greater watershed actually outside that area is a lot better. They very specifically say, I think the full Bantam Lake watershed all the way up to, Torrington is, for that same figure, about 13%. 15% of a watershed of that number is when you start to see degradation of your water quality. So you suppress that a bunch in that immediate area. So, and I think the 500-foot designation is also really important. Riparian zones, there's a lot of studies to show that 500-foot area is really where you get the full benefits of protecting that area.
and another thing is, how do we really measure what's. Indigenous, I forget where it says, that, buffer. Native vegetation. Cause I mean, I'm wondering.
You get your land.
Whereas, clover is a very desirable thing on your lawn. Or a very desirable thing environmentally in the area for the birds and the bees and like that. That, technically clover is considered an invasive species, and it's not native to the North America.
So that's when you have your planting plan from somebody proposing, it would always be on the responsibility of the applicant. And the state of Connecticut has absolutely prohibited invasive species from being a part of that planting plan. So that's not only a local need, but that's also a state requirement.
Do they give a list with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyone,
It'd be useful if we could get that
Yeah,
list.
it would be.
It might not necessarily be in our
I'd like to see it,
regulations, but
yeah.
I think. Tony should
It's
have.
published
this on
every
this,
year.
and we should have that available.
yeah, and I mean, any
But-
planner that's.
So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I mean, you can Google it right now, Connecticut State Invasive for the year and easily find that. But I think any planner, when you ask for your planting
They add
plan,
that every year.
to make sure that, I mean, and you can always ask the question, even though it might seem like a very obvious one, when you are in a hearing or in a public manner, or even Tony as in your position, and just ask, is your planting plan, what percentage natives? Are there any invasives? And I'm sure they'll roll their eyes at you, but I think just getting that on the record and saying, no, we're cognizant of the planting plan. We do see some out of town developers that come in. And again, always looking at our licensed, making sure it's a Connecticut state license, and then asking questions for the purpose of bringing all of the information to light during a hearing. There's no stupid question, even just saying, are you aware that your planting plan doesn't include invasives, and putting that, it's always the responsibility of the applicant, and the town reserves the right, if you ever need to hire a third party to review lighting, planting, engineering, that cost gets passed off to the applicant. So always feel empowered to utilize that right if you're unsure.
I will say that
Yeah.
Cynthia and actually, we had a very good annual meeting, Banner Lake Protective, and Kelsey spoke. And as a result, a lot of the areas around the lake, Breezy Knoll and a couple others have called her. She's been in touch with them because they were specific how to fertilize, what kind of plants. So
Awesome.
there's a lot of interest in this now.
Actually provided a planting plan.
Yes, you did.
For one of those people. And that is something that we can do. It's really part of our free service.
That's wonderful,
You
you know.
guys pay us, your town pays. us.
Yes.
That's why we can do that.
I'm not free to the.
Yeah, we don't charge for that.
We should get the word out on the lake that you guys are available to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what, if they, inland wetlands, we use them often. And they've been wonderful, things that they've done in town. I'm very proud of everything you've done.
Been a great
What was the
partnership.
best?
Oh, yeah, I think a
Yeah.
little sign like I'm a lake hero or something, because you guys are heroes doing this and saving things. Because people just don't get it, and once
Yeah.
they're embarrassed by their neighbors doing it and they're not, that's the
Yeah.
key, that's what you gotta do.
That's true.
And Chairman, I know your earlier question around impervious, so in your normal residential districts, you're as high as 35%. We do see 25 carried over in your smaller lots, and then, of course, we have a higher percentage in your commercial areas, because that's where we're gonna have the bigger buildings, more parking.
But in the, I guess, basically in the venue that we're talking about here, we're talking about the Bantam Lake Shore, and we're talking about, LRD, and
Exactly.
basically that's in DID, your island district, like residential.
And it's actually in line, it's not even more prohibited, it's actually just in line with what's already there, but it's.
But I mean, should we be doing better than these questions? I thought that was reasonably good.
What I would advise or like to see as the planner at this juncture is to put this out for hearing rather than say, oh, let's go farther and just see how palatable it would be to the community. And then also use metrics at looking at lake health over time. And if it does come to our attention with all of our experts here and the working groups, that there becomes a recommendation to maybe even decrease that impervious coverage to then get to that point.
Okay.
But I think to really cage the argument, this is on par with what we're already doing in our residential zones. We're just bringing it to light and highlighting and double checking. I'm sure there's a lot of plans where the impervious coverage isn't even notated.
And, if we don't get, you could also, not that we would say this at the meeting, but it's like, it's almost an implication that this is something that we hope to achieve, and we want to try to do it the friendly way by encouraging people, so we get enough people to make things more manageable rather than trying to use a stick like an ordinance or something like that.
Yeah, same with dark sky. Yeah, and many towns have come knocking, asking about that, really seeing Morris as being the exemplary town, the example.
Done.
No.
Kudos goes to Janelle and the board itself too, because this board is
Board.
very open and willing to innovate. I'm just the facilitator. That's,
So I see it.
I will sit there and I will, if something was going wrong, I would do what I could to try to point it in the right direction. Board is great. It's a credit to them.
I think this is very helpful for the town, because inland wetlands can just do so much. Our regulations are just about the dock, but there's nothing about setbacks, there's nothing about what you do on the property on the lot, so I think it's much better to be in the planning and zoning. I want to give it back to you guys.
I mean, that's, that to me, I think the concern we always had over it was how are we gonna manage it? And
Policing it.
Who's
And
going?
it's not just policing, it's just dealing with the applications and the regulations, because you roll, I mean, things are quiet these days, but you roll it back 20 years and we would have, you know, several applications at almost every meeting, except maybe in December or January. You know, and so we barely, our zoning enforcement officer barely had time to get his job done. Not that I think Tony's, you know, sits around twiddling his thumbs, but, you know, it's like, I think we do have bandwidth to take something like that on now that we didn't have back then.
Well, as long as somebody goes by the regulations, it's pretty simple.
Right. it's
When
just
they bring an application in, if it's not within the regulations, right now it's 300 square feet. You just say no.
Jack,
One thing I didn't remember seeing, is there an application fee that will accompany these?
Or what will an application look like? Yeah.
Because the application fee, I mean, I don't know how extensive an application fee could
Because
be.
we should have.
Your
I would-
staffing needs.
Well, if it's administrative, like Janelle said, it's the classic $105.
Yes, but
It's not a.
so, you know, I mean, will we use our standard zoning
Yeah,
application fee?
I mean, do you base that on the square footage or just,
No, it's just
Or
structures or we don't do it, we've never done it based on,
I think that's building that does things.
yeah, that's how they do their
that's
building
very
codes.
straightforward, and I'd be happy to adapt a form that can be utilized that adds so that then the question gets asked, are you located within the Bantam overlay protective zone, so that brings to everyone's attention, those applications may already need to be updated
Yeah,
with questions like, what is the impervious coverage? I see many old applications that need a little help.
now I've been,
It's terrible.
on some spare time, I've been looking at changing them around. And I do wanna increase fees, but I don't know if it has to be done through ordinance or if we can just do it, and it's probably ordinance, I'm assuming.
Most likely.
So I'll have to look in the ordinance book.
But if a dock is regulated and then it becomes part of the package of the building department, you can, there's a nice amount of money there. These docks he's putting in, Mr. Potbecker, is like $35,000, $40,000 now. So it's a lot. Not that we need the money in town.
Well, if you're gonna afford to pay $35,000 for a dock, I'm pretty sure you'll take it for it. Take it up.
4%.
They can certainly afford a number on their dock.
I'd be happy to work with you on forms.
Yeah, I'll send you what I have, I'll forward it to you to show you what it is, and then we can email back and forth to see what things we have to improve. I don't like the form, I think it's,
I'll read it.
Yeah.
I like.
yeah,
Tony, send her the inland wetlands form too.
okay, oh, that one's even worse, that needs a lot more work.
I love a good inland wetlands application,
Oh, it's
nothing
horrible.
makes me happier.
So I think we should, does it make sense to include
I don't know, I don't-
in your site plan? For Lakefront District to show your dock?
Absolutely,
Mhm.
I don't think a lot of people do that.
I don't think anyone does.
Yeah, show me your dock, yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the dock?
Yeah, and I think as your site plan, soon it's going to be all items that are germane, so even your beachfront, your fill,
Yeah.
what
yeah, yeah.
materials you're bringing in, and this is a part of getting those pointed questions on the form.
Yeah,
Because I always ask, what is your total cut and fill? And people always say it's balanced, and you go, no. I always love to say it's balanced, and you say, no. How much are you importing? How much are you exporting?
Yeah.
And like, you're not using the soil on the site for your septic sand. But I think to ask more pointed questions so you can better regulate.
and it's funny, just going back to wetlands, so in Thomaston, they do the wetlands application fee, and then depending on how much fill or disturbed area, they add a calculation, how much more they charge.
It's not a bad call.
Yeah,
Now, one question I have, I think it's really towards Connie. You talked about the regulations that you have at inland wetlands. I mean, that's not included in this plan. Is that something we should be including in this plan? That's number one, and the dock numbering, where is that stated in your regulations?
The numbers,
Yes,
No, we want to do it, but we have to have a public hearing and change it, and then it has to go to the DEP for approval. But almost every town does it. I don't know about,
I mean, to me, it's.
but almost every town has it.
Yeah.
They do it, but they
By
don't
town,
do
rather.
it.
Don't enforce it.
These are two additional
Each town.
jobs that I wanna
I,
put on our docket, added to the, that usually comes up on number 4 on our workshop meetings.
How does the ordinance committee feel? Because with the dock numbers, I think it would be really important that there's no pre-existing nonconformity.
Mm.
And that it's actually an ordinance so that everyone has to
Right, I know.
for the health,
I get that.
safety. And I see that being very much like a town-wide push
Mm.
rather than I mean, it can be both. I'd like to harmonize, but to make sure that we also have the town board following up on that.
we were told it should be an ordinance.
Yeah,
That's.
Yeah, definitely the dock number thing, I think, cause that's probably enforceable too, like, that
Yeah.
they have to do it kind of thing, I don't
Yeah,
think it's.
especially-
Otherwise,
and-
of course,
It wasn't-
it's just-
The selectmen did approve the idea of it, but we just kind of dropped it.
I'd be happy
Yeah.
to develop the language for the ordinance committee as a recommendation from the P and Z.
That would be
It's a good
great.
idea.
Yeah.
And it can actually be
Already?
That, I think the way to do it, Janelle, if you could.
yeah,
Okay.
If you
that's
could
fine.
put
That's
something
all. I just
together
wanna make sure.
quickly, I might have it at the town meeting next Thursday night and see if I can add it at the same time.
would it be jointly endorsed by IWC and P and Z?
Yes. I mean, we've already, inland wetlands.
I'd like
already
to
did
have,
it.
I would like a vote on that joint.
Yeah.
vote or
Yeah, I don't
something.
wanna-
have No problem, but I just don't wanna,
I don't wanna.
I'm not somebody
Yeah.
who's gonna sit here and without a vote, say that.
Agreed, I get
We need
that.
a motion and a second and approve, a positive vote. Not that
Of the language, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think, I suspect that it probably would pass. I never make promises. It may fail to, you never know.
Right, but we
But-
have to hear it, yeah. we have
But
to
I
hear it.
think we need to do this the right way.
Yes.
And be on it, so we can truly say, because I went to a Board of Ed meeting, like a committee meeting, and they discussed several things, and this was about spending tens of thousands of dollars.
yeah.
And just because Potbecker's dad was chairing the board and decided it was okay, he didn't ask for them to vote on it.
Yeah.
To endorse it, he just, it just slid on by.
Connie, what would the
Yeah.
next opportunity after next Thursday?
Okay, the selectmen would call a town meeting.
Mm.
And then that you'd have a hearing and maybe vote on it. So we could stall it for a little while. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the safest way. That's what Steve Byrne had recommended, that we do an ordinance
Yeah.
as an ordinance.
He's right.
Yeah.
Then we'll have to get Litchfield to do it too.
Right.
You know that. I've already talked to Litchfield because they own part of the lake
Yeah,
too.
they're on the third line.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, just because Litchfield's not doing anything is not a reason for us not to do something. I mean, I really.
Oh, I'm with you.
It's like,
Yeah, that's.
we have to lead the way, we should lead the
About
way.
Washington.
Feel there's been too many problems.
It's mostly Wet Memorial.
Yeah,
Well, maybe again, once we do it, we can embarrass them into doing it, you know?
yeah, that's right.
Would this commission bless if Connie goes to that meeting next Thursday and says a subsequent draft ordinance that will follow, and then at our next meeting that I would have something I will certainly send to Connie and then bring before this board. It's only a recommendation. It's not, it would be a draft ordinance to recommend
Mhm.
back to the ordinance committee. We've done something similar in the past with the,
We once even put the whole,
Janelle, I think we have writing already. I'll send you what we have.
Okay.
You'll take a look at it.
perfect, they did my
The
work.
ordinance committee has been against some of these things because they just have been. Personal property rights. or-
I'm not gonna comment.
I have no comment on it.
I'm not gonna
So
comment.
I'd rather,
Okay, well,
But I do understand. But I'm unhappy if somebody wants to make a motion that we endorse the plan of developing a ordinance for,
Doc numbers.
Co-sponsor.
dock numbers and like that. And, if somebody wants to make that motion and second it. If they.
All right.
I go, Doug.
No,
Oh, go ahead.
no,
I'm half asleep here.
I will make a motion to adopt an ordinance to need to provide dock numbering for property locations on
Dock locations.
dock locations on Lakefront District,
Or is it basically any lake in town?
any lake in town, yeah,
Any lakefront property.
any lakefront property.
Yes, that's better, yes.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion on the matter?
Chairman, before we lose our audience, and not to push this commission, but I know we've all looked at this draft so many times. Do you feel comfortable potentially moving to set?
Can we vote on this one first and we'll deal with that?
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No, no,
We're
no,
losing
you're
our
not.
audience.
White?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Doug? Noah?
Aye.
I'll jump to Bill.
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
you're ready. Veronica,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
and I think I got you already, Noah, so we're all set. It's passed. Now, onto Janelle's, so is the board comfortable going forward? She asked a question, basically, is the board comfortable with going forward and scheduling a public hearing? Probably for.
I already looked it up, September 17th.
That's gonna be on the amended, adding the bubblers and.
Would we also have the phlegm?
So
Yeah, I think that would get in public.
Yeah, I know.
Like the new update forms they'd have to fill out.
So yeah, the
Sorry.
September 17th is our second meeting of September.
So what else would the public hearing address? Specific provisions, number 3, where we talk about one dock, one float, one inflatable.
Yep, because
Yeah.
it's all inclusive of all the language.
Okay.
Yeah.
I propose an amendment to say multi-person float.
Sure.
I'm sorry, how do you want to word it, Doug?
I mean, I want to avoid sort of people having the same sort of reaction that I did. If what you mean is sort of like these giant floats, what we really mean is a multi-person float.
Oh, you mean not
Got
little
it.
children with
Yeah.
floaties on their.
Yeah,
arms?
exactly. Yeah.
The
Fair enough.
inland
Yeah, 'cause
wetlands
it sounds
docks
like
are
floats.
specific about the
Are
size.
you ready?
So we should be looking at those.
We could also specify the size. I was just trying to think of the
They do.
easiest
agree.
thing I could change, but if you want to specify dimensions, that would.
No more than one giant swan, is that?
Yeah.
Always.
It's like I'm saying, it's like, I still think we should be more specific.
Yeah, I think the idea is that something shouldn't be floating, 70 feet out and
Right.
on the lake on a rope that,
Right. So
You can't,
people can-
there's,
Irrespective of people
Exactly.
on
how long
boats.
you can have them.
Well, jets.
Did you say that you did have proposals for dimensions?
The dock regulations do exist and they do have specifics on it,
For the docks or for inflatable?
not inflatable.
We were talking about the
for-
inflatable.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I thought you said rafts.
No, we're talking about the giant,
Just like
That's
big.
different.
the giant swan. How giant does the swan have to be before you can only have?
Swans are pretty big.
Yeah,
I see them. I know what you're talking about, but
yeah, I think we should have, something about the.
I mean,
size.
I'm.
Harmonize.
Percent.
Should just harmonize with
Do you
what
have,
inland wetlands
do you know
has.
that in addition, what you probably don't know, there is a floating around from the ordinance commission right now, something about moorings.
Wake boats.
There's, I don't know where it is, but he got as far as the ordinance committee, this guy. And he's trying to get some kind of regulations on moorings because he bought a house on the water and somebody was moored in front of his house. So it's gone to the state, who owns the water, the state owns the water, we can't control it. It's like crazy. But there is something floating around in the
Boy, so
town.
you can't moor your boat in front of a house that's not yours.
Without mentioning any names, I know exactly the property you're talking about. And he's right next to a public area.
You know
And
where
people
it
have
is, yeah.
slowly, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, he moved
at
it.
the same
He did
time,
move it.
he moved the moorings, but then he also put his dock about 2 feet from the public way, and he parks his boat on the other side.
And not only
So-
that, but he built a new step. that
Yes.
Looks like it's
I know
not on the
exactly.
line.
Yeah, yes.
I wouldn't
would
tell
follow
Tony about that.
So he's in violation just as bad as.
I know.
I'd like to provide a point of information here. If you read section 9 definitions, at least mine is not 100% up to date, but I don't think we changed that. Number 1109 says dock. Uncovered walkway, either fixed or removable, extending into a lake. And I think there are a lot of things now out there that, or at least there are a few things out there that don't fit that definition, even if you just drive up 209 after Deer Island, north of Deer Island. It's gotten extensively developed over there over the past 4 or 5 years. And so we even have regulations on dock. It's not necessarily totally out of our purview, but that's. It's happening. And so what we're actually, I'm proposing is basically bringing into conformity, non-conformities potentially with what we're doing.
But does it say, Dave, anywhere you're looking that the dock should be as far to the center of your property as possible?
No, it doesn't get any specific,
I
but
thought there
still,
was
it's an
ordinance that said-
uncovered access or walkway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that, and the point being in that, just like the dote. Did I talk about the dote?
Please don't get going on that, please.
What's,
Basically,
Oh, it's cool.
about 20 years ago, a man named Marshall Klimaszewski put a deck. Connie's laughing because
You tell us things.
Yes. And the term dote comes from my son, that because it was a dock and a boat, because what he ended up doing, since he thought he was not gonna win the battle, he put pontoons on the deck part of the dock and started giving people rides around the lake.
and then he put an engine at the end of it.
Exactly.
And then
Got a license too.
Mr. Peletsky pulled it across to where it is now, and it's up on the ground, but it was very costly exercise for it. I don't think the town, he had an access to it, remember? It cost
Sure.
$250,000 to get rid of the guy.
Oh, it was illegal.
That's what it cost. It was a big lawsuit. Crazy. Anyway, it was one of those gazebos. So he put a gazebo on a pontoon and now it's on the lawn, but it still exists. If you go on the lake. you can show it.
How did it end up costing somebody $250,000?
Because this guy had, Klimaszewski
Yeah, it
had,
was a big lawsuit.
he didn't have lakefront property,
Okay.
but he had a right of way over a man named Hyatt Choate's property.
Okay.
And
25-foot
then,
access.
and then he put up what would be defined as a dock, and then at the end of the dock was a deck, or as Connie described it, a gazebo.
It was truly a large gazebo. And it was,
Who ended up paying who $250,000?
It cost Hyatt Choate $250,000 to get the thing off
I see.
the right of way.
land back, so basically he paid that.
He thought it was worth
Now you
it.
have to look at that gazebo and all that went with it, I'm
Oh my
sure.
God, they all have those cameras on each other.
We probably want to make sure the definition of dock in the regulations covers what we mean by a dock in this new edition.
Yeah, and I don't think the
But I
doc,
don't think it's
the,
that far.
the definition's not
I
gonna
think it needs
change.
a more expanded.
But cover, yeah, I mean, what, the uncovered, particularly now that we're talking about gazebos, uncovered part, I think is
Very
one of the
important, yeah.
concerns.
Okay, two things. Two things. Can we talk about the flood line, please?
Yeah.
Because it got just totally out of hand, and I
I
apologize.
think
but
we all just.
I rarely do this, and these guys can attest to that. And I just want to stress on the dock definition, it says walkway. Not access way, walkway. So it's not designed for much more than walking. And
The
we,
dock is supposed to be designed to walk out and jump into the water and swim, correct?
Or put a boat.
Or put a little boat
and-
in.
so.
Access.
Do we wanna say something that you can't have anything stick, like? You can't put any structures in the water other than a dock as described here. Right? Because. If we sort of narrowly define what is permitted, then we need to say anything that is not permitted is forbidden. Right? And I don't think that we actually have any position in our regulations that says you can't put a structure in the water. Okay, and so if we narrowly define a dock in terms of what is permitted, that's not going to, that would actually not address the gazebo on a motorized platform.
But if it's uncovered walkway. And you have, a gazebo is not a walkway, that's a landing place. So. You know,
But right now, our regulations don't say you can't put anything in the water.
I understand.
Okay, so what we need to say is, we need to say, the only thing you can put into the water is an authorized dock.
Hmm.
Okay, you can't, and so,
Absolutely
so
specific, just.
if we define a dock as an uncovered walkway, someone covers it, and all of a sudden it's not covered by the regulation.
No, but the thing is. But there's nothing here that talks about a covered walkway. It just says that,
So, I mean, for simplicity.
I would say this implies that anything but an uncovered, a walkway into the lake is acceptable for a dock, that you can't put anything. That's the way I always.
But it doesn't actually say that.
I know it doesn't say that, but it
Okay.
doesn't say that you can put it up either.
But I think to Doug's point, the more explicit we can be, the better. To just add a number 8 that says dock shall be the only structure
Allowed in the lake.
allowed within the lake. And then when you look at the definition of dock, you see, oh, it's an uncovered walkway. So
There you
you're
go.
not
That's
getting.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah, so because again, like rather than have to deal with these outliers that we do
Being very
see, to
specific.
just typically say dock shall be the only authorized structure
Yeah, there's no gray area.
that
there.
can extend into the lake.
Now, before this goes to the ordinance vote, wouldn't your town attorney take a look at any proposed ordinance?
So this wouldn't go to an ordinance vote, this would go before the
Yeah,
Planning and
the
Zoning
planning and zoning.
Commission as a amendment to the regulations.
And then there would be a hearing, and we would probably run it past. The
Attorney.
attorney for the commission.
Right, okay, so
Okay.
yeah, because,
Um,
language is a funny thing.
Mhm.
And what is plain language for, like me, an ordinary person? Sometimes a lawyer who wants to find a loophole for their client.
Yeah.
So I think,
Just so you know, I am,
you know what I'm saying?
I am a Connecticut admitted attorney, so that is
That's
why you're
why
hearing
he's
this
being
from me.
so thorough.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's cool.
and I'm with
I have
you.
one question.
That's why we love Doug.
Good, great.
Mark,
I have one question. We're talking about docks and only docks being permitted in the lake. What about the swim platforms that already exist there? And the ski jump for the Phantom Lake, whatever club it is, water ski club.
So in number 3, that's a great question.
Yeah.
There is the sentence that reads, a dock, a float, and one multi-person float shall be permitted per shoreline property. So there be it your floating dock and then also your water ski jump. So every property can have a combination of all of those accoutrements with their waterfront property. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
What, do we define a float?
I think we probably have.
So what we can do for,
Gazebo with pontoons.
to be,
Very good, Noah. Oh, very good.
And we can make sure that dock, float, multi-person float end up in definition.
And should that say?
Multi-person
permanent
inflatable
and temporary?
water toy.
Because they're gonna come back and say the dock is temporary, so it.
So we're also adding that provision that they can't stay in the water throughout the winter. So everyone's gonna wanna say it's temporary. I actually don't ever discern. It's a structure, get a permit.
Yep.
And if I have a permit on file, and if they say, oh, I had this last year, it's like, okay, cool, you have a permit on file.
Yeah.
I would never think that every summer you would come back
Right.
for the permit.
It's a one-time
It would be like a one-time, like with your shed.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that
And-
you're
and-
removing your shed, but in concept, I
Right,
would
right.
just, it's like a
Yeah.
one-time thing.
And it would roll down the line to the next property owner, just like your permit to have a house on the
Yeah.
property.
And I think that the line about the place to address the previous point should be where it says one dock, one floated, one inflatable water toy shall be permitted per shoreline property. No other structures will be permitted
In the lake.
in the lake, yeah.
Great.
These structures, square footage combined, shall not exceed 350 square feet, right?
I think we need a different term for a float.
Well, I still think we need to define.
Unless,
But I-
I'm just trying to,
No barrels tied together with. No, I'm serious. I
No, I
just,
know,
you know what
I
I'm
know.
saying?
I
Like when they
laugh,
make,
but
like you
it's
said, a
so
swim
true.
platform, they make it out of barrels
Yeah.
and wood.
So how would I propose?
Floating structure is.
So how would I propose, so we're not in the middle of the night workshopping the language? Why don't I propose that I take this home, I align with the inland wetlands regulation, I bring it back for a last look. We look that we have our definition of floating dock,
Mhm.
dock, and
multi-person.
multi-person float term. And then also all these other details on the page so that no one's under the gun and so that we can all bless this as a group
Mhm.
and then set it for hearing.
I was gonna say,
Agreed.
then maybe we'll get some more public input next month.
I also think we missed the window for this summer season.
Yes.
Oh,
Not urgent at the moment, yeah, so we'll get it done before.
Yeah.
That's why I like the conversation.
Yeah, today I feel-
We're making progress.
I was gonna say the same thing, we should
It's
just,
dark.
are there any parting thoughts? Because these are all really important, great thoughts, and I don't want to cut anyone off. Are there any parting thoughts other than obviously defining these key terms? There's some reworking of some language, there's some additional details, no bubblers, no leaving of the docks in the winter. No other structure shall be extended into the water, and then I have to look at like appropriate materials for these floats.
Oh, you were saying about people anchoring stuff floating
We were
out
talking
there.
about, the moorings came
Yeah.
up, so we were talking about.
Is a good point.
Because
So
jet
mooring
ski
should be
stuff,
included in that.
People are gonna get hurt with that stuff, yeah.
There should be something where it's just like nothing shall be affixed, nothing should be associated with private property X number of feet.
Yeah, I mean, well,
What about the swim platform deal?
yeah.
I mean, really, should people be,
I was just done in other lakes.
no, I'm just wondering, so
I mean, it's complicated because actually I briefly took a class in maritime law. I remember next to nothing, but beyond the shoreline, once you pass the mean high water mark, I believe it's within like 8 feet of water. It's technically not even the town of Warren anymore.
Yeah.
So we're sort of
State of Connecticut.
overstepping, but it's an extension of the town, so. I would also like to run this by deep and just say, we understand that
Mhm.
this is also a deep lake and just get their blessing.
Mhm.
So that if there is anything that's an outlier,
It's really deep.
That's good.
it's very deep. So I think just, I mean, we're seeing things now with the wake boat ordinance and Warren, just to let them know, FYI, we're doing this. Do you have any thoughts?
No, that'd be good.
I just have one last thought, how does it go with the public drinking water supply overlay zone?
So. And
I know it's included as the same agenda item, but maybe I should have put them separate.
I do.
I think it should be separate.
So,
Okay, that's why I'm.
it's a great question.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to make sure, because we haven't talked about that.
Yeah,
I will make that be next.
there's some more concise agenda items. We could work on that, Tony.
Yeah.
Those are long.
I don't know why I put them together, you know, I put them together because we had like 10 different things, and I was like, some things go together, so that's why.
Yeah, but that's a great
Thanks.
question.
I remember that.
One more question.
Go ahead, Mark. It's a good time.
You're saying about the docks coming out in the winter, there are some docks that stay in all winter. Would those docks need to be removed according to the new regulations?
I don't think
That'd
that's
be granted,
necessarily true.
they're pre-existing non-conforming.
Yeah, not unless they pass an ordinance, right? If they pass an ordinance, they would have to come out.
Correct.
Well, but also we are saying no bubblers. So as long as they can survive in the water without a bubbler.
But
Yeah, some of the
That's-
docks are
if we
designed
actually
for
want
that.
to, if we want people to take out a dock or take out a bubble, an existing bubbler, that we need an order, that needs to be included in the ordinance.
I would say yes.
Okay. To the other thing that can be addressed by ordinance is the registration requirement. So that's something to think about. I was doing some research while we were talking about some of the other stuff. And it looks like we can't sort of say that it's automatically that the pre-existing non-conforming use is void if they don't register.
No.
But you can require people through ordinance to register and like pay like a registration fee. And if they don't register, then you can fine them. But you can't do it as a, but you can't you can use it to sort of create a presumption of abandonment. But they still get to sort of say, oh, no, I've been meaning to, I've had in my heart the desire to.
They have a trailer.
Yeah,
now.
Keep this going.
Yeah.
Again, it should really be new docks, really, that's the
Yeah.
way we should look at
But
it,
the
because
other-
I don't want,
The other thing that somebody with time on their hands could do is just go in the middle of the summer.
no, make it a weapon, like, every.
Well, no, so in the middle of summer, someone can just do a photographic survey of what's actually out there.
I'll be glad. I'll volunteer.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
We could rent ourselves a pontoon boat and go have a party
Yeah.
and take pictures of all the docks.
Absolutely.
Somebody did that 20 years ago.
Be happy to do that.
I got a guy with a
Connie has a
pontoon boat.
boat, I hear.
I think I have that. I think that's might be even on this laptop here, the pictures.
Yeah.
From that.
So
Anyhow,
really,
if I did
a
drop-
recommendation to the ordinance committee.
I think yeah, so I guess if they were gonna have a motion, I would move to expand the requested draft recommendation to the ordinance committee to include removal of fixed docks, removal of bubblers, and registration of docks.
I'll second that.
Anything with the floats?
I think we just need to define the floats.
I was second. All those in-
No.
Any discussion on that matter?
I would, Dave, real quick, I would say that if your dock is currently non-conforming, non-compliant, and you take it out over the winter, and the next spring you go to put it back in, then it needs to be conforming.
He's right. I think.
Right? I mean, there's-
I agree with that. Yeah.
If you intend to
Put it back.
It's almost like you
It's not
put a
an
temporary
abandonment.
shed in the back of your yard that's been there for 6 years. You
But-
moved it, came back and put it,
But I think-
6 months later.
Because it's not abandoned.
You can't
Just by
assume
taking it out, you haven't abandoned it.
You haven't abandoned it, but
You haven't abandoned the
you
use.
took away the temporary structure and now you're putting it back in
It's
another.
just
Like you
like,
You could, it's just like, if there's a pre-existing non-conforming use, let's say a gas station on the corner, and it goes away for 5 years, and someone says, I'm bringing that pre-existing use back. Tony does not have the authority to take that away from
You
that
actually-
one. And I would actually use, and I've done this, your aerial photography
Yeah.
historically to show I had this dock in this exact configuration. This was the right that I am not giving up.
But once he removes it, now putting it back,
No.
No, that's not how it works.
there's,
really?
It's not how it
No,
works.
it's not.
It's not.
That's like the-
because you just tore something down is.
I mean,
You
that's
know,
how we ended up with the
Listen,
thing with the green.
you're-
right?
That was different. That was
Guys,
never
this is getting-
changed
This
users.
is turning
you know?
into very long.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm fading
I
fast.
just wanna make one comment before Dave bangs the gavel. The problem is, Bill, we will get sued by every single person on the lake and it'll cost us X amount of hundred, I'm just saying, I just don't think it's something we wanna go down.
But it is
Bad
completely
right.
reasonable to require them to register it. And
Yeah,
actually
that's
have
different.
Cause you can put requirements on things that are for the public safety.
Right.
Okay, so it's things like numbering your docks is justified on the basis of public safety. And not having a or public health is another thing that you can justify things on. But you can't just sort of change.
So I think
The
we're
nature of
all
the use.
clear on that recommendation.
We have a motion
Go
on
to
the table.
Ordinance committee, which would take away the pre-existing nonconformities.
Yeah.
Right.
And any further discussion on that motion?
Not done as much.
Do we all remember what Doug's motion was?
No,
Okay, so we previously said that there was going to be, we passed a motion saying that we're recommending to the ordinance committee that
Doc numbering.
that we're gonna have dock numbering, okay? What we're saying is that in addition to dock numbering, we wanna have some form of dock registration. In which sort of like a picture of the dock and how big it is and things like that. We wanna have a ban on bubblers, which is a public health regulation. And we wanna have a ban on fixed docks as a public health and safety regulation.
And Veronica seconded that motion, so I'm gonna
Yes.
call the question. I will start with you, Noah.
Aye.
Doug.
Right.
Veronica.
Aye.
Helen.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Bill. Eric, Bill, I'll skip over you. Erica.
Aye.
They just laughing.
And if you want to say no, I have no issue. I don't need unanimous votes. It's not about unanimous votes. It's about having an intelligent discussion about it. And if you're not comfortable, just say no, and we'll take it from there.
I don't agree with the removal of permanent, not leaving docks in year round. That's gonna be a problem. Because people do that all the time.
If you have to say no, that is fine,
But
because it might make the board think about it a little more too after this, because I remember Mr. No, Chris Pulowski, once finally just said, no, we can't, we gotta do this.
How many permanent docks are there?
there's actually a lot of them that they leave in year round. There's a lot of floating plastic ones that they tie to trees and de-auger from the ground and they leave them in year round. And they don't move at all. And then you've got other
Do they
people
use
that,
what do they do about freezing?
they don't freeze. Well, they float above the water, the ice floats, and it's really the ice that will break it
Right.
free. But if it's floating above and tied to the trees without being augered down,
issue for.
they're meant to
It
be.
would be a platform.
Well, and it's a recommendation, right?
Yeah.
We can-
Yeah.
Above
They
the.
can throw it out the window if they want.
Yeah, but usually the
It comes
plastic
with- I mean, it's almost
floating.
impossible to get them to pass.
Because maybe if they're not.
Maybe if I
they're not
show up.
really fixed to
There's
this.
three cement docks on the lake that have to stay, of course. The plastic docks, we did have a very big lawsuit with Pearly Grimes over somebody that had one in Nick's Cove. Most of the people with the plastic docks that keep them in year round are in Nick's Cove.
Yeah.
The rules that we had is that we have to have at least allow water to flow freely underneath.
Mhm.
Most of the people that have the plastic docks out of Nick's Cove, they move them in and bring parts of them in. They just let the
Yeah.
plastic part sit. So they do move. The regs currently say docks should be removable, but don't have to be. But they should be able to be removed. In other words, they're not permanent.
Right.
That's what that says. And as far as bubblers, we do not allow them. They are not allowed.
I know
There's one person that has them on the lake, and that's the people that have the patrol boat.
Basically, it's
Banned.
already banned by inland wetlands?
Yes.
Okay,
It doesn't help it doesn't hurt to harmonize.
yeah.
So you can't send them a letter and say, get rid of your bubbler?
So, Bill.
No,
I'm gonna-
they want it because.
No, no, I've been, I'm good.
That's the only one that has it.
I'm
Then
good.
you have it. I have no problem with the no vote, because it's.
No, I just want to
I'd rather
clarification.
you vote yes or no.
Yeah,
than
yeah.
abstain.
You didn't ask me.
You didn't ask me to vote.
Tim,
What the hell's wrong with you?
You know, you can sort of just adopt a consistent way of.
Yeah. No, it's unanimous.
I don't think it's.
You forgot.
I
There's,
did, I
I
apologize.
mean, there's like 3 or 4 houses to the left of our.
They're right down, but I was not.
Residential plastic docks.
Yeah.
And they always
It was just-
around
Uh,
and they.
Cynthia.
So, and they do break.
I would just,
Yeah.
wonder if Cynthia would stay for this, because I feel like.
Oh, wow.
Cynthia, I gotta go.
Yeah, I know.
Our next agenda item is about subdivisions and identifying archaeological, historical, or cultural resources. And I was wondering if you have any expertise in that, so if you would stay for a little bit, I would appreciate it.
Just answer quickly, I personally don't.
Okay, that's fine.
But there is somewhere in the state that you should call and I'll get that information for you
Thank you.
probably tomorrow. and-
Okay, yeah, email it to me, and either Thomas or.
Question comes up a lot, but I'm not an archaeologist.
All right.
I have a.
I knew you would know someone.
Can we
though, see?
bump this
Thank
to
you,
the
Cynthia.
next
Yeah.
month, cause I'm ready to freaking.
I see we're all at our witching hour.
And time. So. We're gonna skip.
Thank you for having us.
Quick or-
Yeah, thanks.
I just can't do it. We gotta go.
Yeah, what is everyone, what's wrong with everyone? Yeah.
I'm right there.
Yeah, I'm exhausted, jeez Louise.
We're gonna skip for,
Hold on.
but Yaton wants to cover the procedure for subdivision.
I just
And
wanna-
actually, maybe we should skip that one too.
No, I.
We're gonna,
I think we should just talk about it for like 2
There's
minutes.
just one thing that I think we need to,
Thank you.
which is that we wanted to talk to Janelle, while we have her, about the question that you and I had when we were talking last week.
It just to review the plan, basically, that's kind of.
Is that what? the
That's,
agenda is?
that's what it would basically be.
that meeting.
Yeah, so what I want is, and I just wanna, so one of the things is I think. We should always go with, cause you are our planner, so when we get an application like this and we don't really, we should give it, so when it comes in. You should also review it before we
Right.
decide anything,
Awesome.
and then we can also decide if we need something from the land use attorney, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
After
I
that,
do think so, Tony, have a copy of the plan and a copy of the subdivision regulations, and we'll be reviewing that prior to the hearing.
The specific question that came up, during the, whatever that was, at our last meeting.
yeah,
Was the question of whether it is a interior lot or not.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
they basically did this they sort of gerrymandered.
that.
You thought, okay.
Creatively, this part of it is,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
it's
think
very
the
creative.
onus is always on the applicant to say, what is this? And where in our regulations do we allow this?
And
that will be a part of my analysis that I have not yet
yeah, that's
conducted.
why I don't wanna talk too much about it, I think we should send it.
I'll let you make your own decision. I have an opinion about it.
But yeah, I think really.
I see that there are-
Stop the discussion on it.
There are
Yeah.
arguments on both
Wait.
ways.
We should really stop the
Yep.
discussion on this right now.
We can, it's totally okay for us, there's no prohibition on our talking about this.
The applicant is not here.
Right.
Veronica,
Cause it's been
it's your
received.
time.
Hmm?
I need you.
Oh. Please, yes,
For nothing personal.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the August 20th, 2025 meeting of the Morris Planning and Zoning Commission, approximately, is that 8:23?
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstention, motion carried. Let's talk about this offline. I'm really.